The person who just heartlessly discarded you never changed at all. They simply revealed their true nature. The moment someone you poured your entire soul into caring for suddenly turns their back, cold and emotionless like a machine, it's not just sadness. It's a knife plunged deep into your back, shattering your entire belief system in humanity. You writhe in the darkness, torturing yourself with endless questions. What did I do wrong? How could they walk away so cruelly? Was everything we had just a performance? Pop culture has brainwashed you into believing in unconditional love and eternal loyalty. That is the sweetest poison of all, killing you from the inside the moment someone turns away. The truth is, no betrayal is ever personal. You're in agony because you used your heart to measure a world that runs on self-interest. Remember that moment of absolute fury when you were discarded. You pulled out that invisible ledger and started counting. When they hit rock bottom, who reached down to pull them back up? I swallowed my tears. I covered for them time after time. I traded my best years to piece their broken life back together. And now they just walk away, as if we never even met. You're screaming for moral justice from a world that was never moral to begin with. So why, ultimately, can human beings discard each other so easily? What is loyalty, really? To decode this brutal mechanism, you can't rely on hollow healing advice. You need to dissect it with the cold logic of Arthur Schopenhauer. Schopenhauer was no armchair pessimist. His philosophy is an irrefutable system of psychological analysis, one that ruthlessly exposed humanity's greatest illusion, the illusion of unconditional love and selflessness. He proved it through one core doctrine, the theory of egoism. According to Schopenhauer, most human actions, no matter how noble they appear, are fundamentally rooted in the desire to survive and to satisfy one's own personal needs. People rarely love you for who you are. They love the way you make them feel about themselves. You are a mirror. When they're with you, they see themselves as smarter, more powerful, comforted, or materially fulfilled. The loyalty they swore to you was never loyalty to you at all, but loyalty to the emotions and benefits that you provided them at that particular moment. Disgusting to hear, isn't it? You believed your silent sacrifices would earn you a permanent place in their heart. But survival instinct has no interest in honoring old debts. Schopenhauer pointed out, need always arrives before gratitude and crushes it. When the stomach is full, no one remembers who served the meal. When loneliness has been filled, no one needs your listening ear anymore. They didn't leave because you became worthless. They left because the will inside them shifted. This invisible will has chained humanity to blind craving. When that desire craves comfort, it automatically pulls them toward you. But the moment comfort is saturated, it instantly pushes you aside to make room for new objectives. Through the lens of philosophy, this betrayal doesn't come from malice. It comes from the cold machinery of natural law. However, don't let this brutal truth destroy your faith in all of humanity. This ruthless discard is only inevitable when you hand your heart to someone who runs entirely on self-interest. For those who only see you as a survival tool, their abandonment doesn't diminish your core value in the slightest. It merely exposes a cold truth. A tool's purpose expires the moment the user's need is met. If Schopenhauer dissected human nature through philosophy, then Darwin proved the same thing through biology. In evolutionary psychology, this behavior has a brutally simple explanation: survival optimization. When they enter a new social class or change their living environment, their psychological needs instantly shift. They no longer need someone to share hardships with. They need a launch pad to elevate their status. And following the principle of elimination, you go from a valuable asset to a sunk cost overnight. When you understand this cold-blooded mechanism of the brain, you'll see that degrading yourself is utterly illogical. When you cry in the dark and torment yourself, maybe I wasn't good enough. If I change, they'll stay. In academic terms, that's called the illusion of control. Your brain would rather believe you're inadequate, just to cling to one final illusion: that you still have control over the outcome. But face the truth head on. Their departure has absolutely nothing to do with your work. Like being a drop of pure essential oil poured into the fuel tank of a crude industrial machine. It spits you out and rejects you, not because you're worthless. It rejects you because its engine was only built for crude fuel. That departure was nothing more than a contract expiring. Begging on your knees doesn't prove great love. It only reveals the truth. You're desperately begging for validation because you can't determine your own worth. The question is, how do you stand firm in this brutal solitude without being crushed by it? To stand firm, you must strip away every romantic delusion and face the problem with the most brutal tool there is: pure logic. Look at how the real world operates. When a company fails, investors immediately pull out. No one cries and calls it betrayal. They call it cutting losses. When you can't pay your rent, your landlord throws your belongings into the street. That's not cruelty. That's economic principle. So why do you scream for eternal faithfulness in the marketplace of emotions? When you view this departure through an economic lens, resentment will instantly vanish. You'll stop playing the victim. Stop sending those pathetic begging texts at 2 a.m. Because crying to get back an investor who already pulled out is a meaningless act. Instead of tormenting yourself, the only thing you need to do is rebuild your own empire. Stand firm like a mountain. People can only buy and sell things with exchange value, but no one can buy a mountain. When the wind comes, the mountain stands still. When the migrating birds fly away, the mountain remains. A mountain never chases a bird to prove its greatness. If you've made it to the very last minutes of this video, and there's still an emptiness inside because someone left, take a deep breath and stop blaming yourself. You were never abandoned. You simply passed through a crossroads with them. And now, it's time for each of you to continue your own journey. They can take away their attention, take away their time, but the flame inside you can still burn bright on its own. Forgive their departure, not because they deserve it, but because your heart needs peace. And more importantly, embrace and forgive yourself for once loving so naively and wholeheartedly. Finally, step out of the shadow of self-torment, because only when you release the burden of expectation will you truly be free. See you on the other side of bitterness, where only peace remains.